from 1988, well, you gave birth to Francesca, your daughter, and then you had a decision to make, didn't you, whether to work full-time or only to... Well, actually, that was before that, wasn't it? But when you decided to have children, you had to decide whether to give up teaching or work full-time. I'm getting it all mixed up.
That's right. No, I couldn't do it all.
Yeah.
And I was wholesaling and, selling to Scotties. And I was so worried about telling them that I was pregnant that I left it till I was having contractions. And I was on the phone to Marilyn and I said, "Oh, Marilyn, I'm having contractions. I'm about to have a baby." But really, I can still do it. Of course, she would trust me. But I just left it to tell her, and so I had to give up teaching as well, and
but you could have her in the workroom,
work full time,
which
as a designer.
So you finally were you doing any more pattern making on the side? No. So this is the first time you were concentrating solely on you, 1988. Skip then to a few years later, because you're designing full time, but in 2001, and in fact for the next 4 years, you showed at New Zealand Fashion Week. And that was quite a pivotal moment for your label. Yes. And we've got, I'm getting mixed up now. Now we have some images from the movie 2001.
Images of 2001.
Great, thank you.
So, no, 2002.
2002.
Which was my first solo show.
Okay.
So it's my
That's
second
right.
show.
So let me just preface this by saying that, so Sharon showed in 2001 in a group show. With Holick, Luna and Liz Mitchell, but then decided to show solo the next year, which was a momentous time for the label.
It was quite amazing really, because my first show was, there wasn't that much response, and I was so surprised with this show. I had all the media, like Stacey Gregg and people coming up and congratulating me for my show, and it was quite overwhelming. And then I had this Australian agent who, phoned me, wanted to see me, wanted to be my agent in Australia, and all these buyers coming, making appointments. So it was quite different, and it actually grew my business, grew the label. So.
But you were in a very small workroom at the time, weren't you? And at the time of the orders.
Well, I was in a smaller room in the workroom, and it was my husband's workshop. And I started off in one room, and then moved into the office, and then we had to move into his space. He was a lighting manufacturer, and then we even converted the hallway into some space as well, until it was just far too small. Yeah.
So you really weren't expecting that amount of response, all the orders, and so in Australia you had this agent, and there's pluses and minuses of having an agent, as you were telling me, but like she did find you some great stores, and you told me one.
She did, and it did grow the label, and it, we were able to cater for, we could produce the volume. It wasn't huge, but I had about 7 outlets in Australia, maybe 5 in New Zealand, and but we had a few problems with payment, and an agent will find you the buyers, but they don't really follow up sales and or payments unless you pay them an extra fee, and it's really it was just difficult.
And you said also they approach shops that they have relationships.
It's interesting because agents, they work very closely with the retailers, and they have certain retailers who they have a relationship with, and so they go to the same ones, and they are quite good. But really, if you can, it's better to know what your market is, research it properly, and instead of trusting someone totally, unless you know their market.
And so you really disassociated yourself with the agent after a while, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And found a great outlet yourself.
Well, actually my aunt found it, and who's a very good shopper.
This is in Melbourne.
And in Melbourne, she was in the Miyake store, and the woman who owned the Miyake store also had the Ipanema, Koze Ipanema, and Koze Plus, and they're like amazing stores in Melbourne that import all the top labels. And she was really friendly, and Lucy was sort of saying, oh, you know, you're from New Zealand and so on, and you know, she's saying how she liked knitwear. And my aunt said, well, my niece, she's a designer and she works with knitwear, and so we took the opportunity to meet, but Lucy was just being polite, and you know, and had forgotten, you know, that she'd talked to my aunt, and I phoned her, and she was very kind, and she said, oh yes, well, come over. I probably won't buy because, you know, I buy 6 months in advance. I import clothing, and so I've already done my buying and so on. So I took the opportunity and went over with the collection that I had done with artist Julia Oakley, and she bought it, and I ended up selling to her for 3 seasons in the Turak store in Melbourne, and so that was alongside Jean-Paul Gaultier, Helmut Lang, and great designers, so that was amazing.